On Grid tonight, NASCAR will race on the streets of San Diego in 2026. What's the idea behind the race at Naval Base Coronado? And with San Diego joining the NASCAR schedule, Chicago is out. Will the Windy City Street Course return as soon as 2027? And as we're on the subject of the military tonight, Jorge Martin has done an about-face and decided to continue his relationship with Aprilia. What happened to forcing his way out? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. As you can see, we have a full house tonight, lots to talk about. I'm Kobe Lamont, and with me are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports, Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, Jackson Lambros from Jalopnik and Outlet Media, and Ben Snyder from Grid Encore and LastCard.info. We encourage all of our viewers to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. And let's get right into it. Take it away with our top story this evening. Josh, got a full show tonight.
We really do. Good evening, Kobe. Good evening, everybody, as well. And let's get straight into it because it's been news we've been expecting, but now we've got a sort of beneficiary as well as a replacement. Let's see. With the Chicago street race falling off the schedule for 2026, NASCAR will replace it with another street race in its return to the Southern California market. On June 19th to the 21st, 2026, all three NASCAR divisions will race in San Diego at the Naval Base of Coronado. Now, the Craftsman Truck Series will race on June 19th, followed by the Xfinity Series on June 20th, and the Cup Series on June 21st. We'll see the San Diego Street Race weekend fall in line with the 250th anniversary of the United States Navy. Now, for the first time, NASCAR will race at an active military base, as the Naval Base Colorado has 8 military facilities from San Clementine Island to the La Posta Mountain Warfare Training Facility. Now, as you can see on your screen to the right of the graphic, that's one of the proposed layouts for the San Diego Street Course. However, NASCAR is currently evaluating several different configurations and plans to release the final track layout later this fall. Now, just like they did for the Chicago Street Course, NASCAR is working closely with iRacing to build the track and getting feedback from drivers. NASCAR Executive Vice President, Chief Venue and Racing Innovations Officer Ben Kennedy said it's been a blend of traditional street racing because they'll be using some of the streets on the base. Now, in addition, they'll be driving by aircraft carriers onto the tarmac, possibly by some fighter jets, and back towards the entrance to the base. Kennedy added that the San Diego Street Course will be around 3 miles long and entirely on the naval base, so it won't be disruptive to the greater San Diego area. NASCAR is also partnering with a non-profit called Sports San Diego for operational and promotional support. Sports San Diego has a strong reputation for helping put on some successful sporting events such as the Super Bowl, the X Games, and the MLB All-Star Game, and more. Mark Neville, the CEO of Sports San Diego, said the event has significant and favorable impact on San Diego's tourism and hospitality industry and believes it's a huge win for the area. Amy Lupo will also serve as president of NASCAR San Diego, who played a key role in helping launch the Busch Light Clash at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Tried to remove the memorial there, my brain. John C. Phelan as well, the Secretary of the United States Navy, said hosting a race on the Naval Air Station North Island, which is the birthplace of naval aviation, is a powerful tribute to the values that the Navy and NASCAR both share: grit, teamwork, and love of country. The graphic courtesy there of NASCAR. Well, an active military airbase. That's something you don't see every day. I think they've been playing a bit too much Grand Theft Auto 5. But are you surprised that NASCAR chose to race at Naval Base Colorado or over the downtown streets of San Diego? And how important is it to finally have NASCAR back in the Southern California market? Matt, I'll start with you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hello to Joe, who's watching. Yeah, big to get back out there. Of course, we all know the story of Auto Club Fontana that's gone away over the last few years. We had the Busch Light Clash, as you said, Josh, at the Coliseum. And now we're going to have, in an anniversary year, fighter jets, battleships, NASCAR, America. Yeah, from etc. It's going to be full Stars and Stripes, Spangled Banner, etc., isn't it? It's going to be the full everything for that weekend. And we've got all 3 series coming to do their thing. So going to be fun. As you said, we don't know what the layout's going to be. That's to be determined, I guess, between now and Christmas, as with what we've heard today. Denver, good evening to you, says San Diego Naval Base looks like Cleveland 2.0. Yeah, that wasn't one of my first thoughts is going back to this, as I was just talking to the guys before we went on the air. I've just watched an IndyCar race from Edmonton at the airport, so I'm fully in with the airport vibes going into this one. I mean, it should be an absolute spectacular show, but maybe the NASCAR rain will come in and spoil it. Let's not hope for that. It's San Diego. It never rains there. I'm just excited for it. It's a shame that Chicago's disappeared off, especially being a Shane Van Gisbergen stan, as I am. But he'll have another racetrack to go and add to his checklist, I guess, over there on the West Coast. But it's going to be cool. Looking forward to seeing what happens with it. All the promos that have come out from NASCAR today, with the videos and all the news and bits and pieces of promoting it up to the hill. You're going to hear all about it over the broadcast at Indianapolis this weekend, which is a shame for Indianapolis. But yeah, really excited for this one, and it should be a great show.
Yeah, frankly, Matt, I'm not entirely sure why you guys brought me in here. I don't really know that much about San Diego. No, how exciting is this for a place that I called home for 4 years and is my backyard to now be the home for a NASCAR Cup Series street race? And we were talking about this being one of the finalists alongside Pittsburgh, and it was that Southern California need for not a want, but a need for NASCAR that had to be filled, right? Fontana is going nowhere, at least for the near future. You lost your opportunity to stay at the Coliseum for the Olympics, and you wanted to go back to the South. I totally get that. You made your intentions very, very clear. Spring of last year when you tried buying out Long Beach from IndyCar. So your solution to go and build your own just a couple hours south, I think, is a phenomenal move. Logistically, I actually really think this does make sense, Josh, because this is one of the most crowded cities in North America, about almost 7,000 people per square mile, especially in that downtown area where you really want to have people. And you've got Petco Park. We don't know what the Major League Baseball schedule is going to be like. That's right next door. You've got the Convention Center, which is seemingly always hosting something massive, whether it's Comic-Con, Anime Expo South, something like that. So there's so much going on. And, the more I was looking at potential mock-ups from fans, from journalists, it seemed like the most realistic place was either going to be San Diego International Airport, which I can tell you right now was not going to happen, or making that move over to Coronado. And honestly, it makes too much sense to not do that. I think I had some people talking about the Silver Strand on Imperial Beach, maybe to try and do a Daytona Beach style throwback. And I'm not totally throwing that out of the picture. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. But this is a city that hasn't got the exposure it has for motor racing, but it loves sports. It loves having a good time. And I just, to host this event at a military base on the 250th anniversary of our country and our Navy, could not think of a better place to party for it.
Absolutely. As we've got some comments coming from Denver saying, yes, we would love
Absolutely, Denver.
to spoil the 250 naval celebration with a New Zealand flag and anthem. And look, it could be worse. We could get, I don't know, Tom Ingram going over there for the British Touring Car Championship, absolutely thrashing everybody, and then it's Rule Britannia.
Dude, that would be crazy.
I'm going to mention that to Tom actually now. Just say, fancy popping over and just showing the boys how it's done. Ash Sutton even as well. Colin Turkington, let's get him over there.
There'll be a clash somewhere mediocre like Thruxton or Croft. Where would you rather be?
Cup Series at Thruxton.
Yeah, I'll be good.
Could you imagine, dude? Oh my God.
What's the date? June 19th. There is no clash. It's the summer break. Alton Park, 6th to 7th of June. Thruxton, 25th to 26th of July. There is no clash. It's the summer break. Right. Good. Touring Car boys, you know what you've got to do.
Oh my God. Imagine.
Now, as Matt pointed out, this is not the first time NASCAR has been in Southern California, but it is the first time racing in San Diego. Jackson, you've already said earlier on as well, and this question is just for you as our expert on this region as well. You've already said about where we could have been racing and how it would be looking and all the events around San Diego year in, year round, but just try and narrow it down. what are some of the important things that people should know about San Diego, and why is this the perfect place for NASCAR street race? Because it kind of is.
Let's start with, I think, kind of what I mentioned earlier. This is a fan base and a citizen base that's just all about having a good time. You go and put on a big event and promote it enough with enough presence, people are going to go. And we see that already, by the way, with motorsports. Supercross has called California home, called San Diego home since 1980. First at Qualcomm Stadium, now with that torn down, has been consistently at Snapdragon. This is a city where we've got some big drivers who have called it home. I think for active drivers still kind of on the up and up, Sheldon Creed was actually one of my cousin's neighbors, which is a fun fact for you. But Jimmy Johnson from El Cajon, neighboring city to San Diego. I think you're going to get a huge crowd, not just from San Diego, but neighboring counties, the Inland Empire. I think a lot of people from LA and Orange County are going to make that trek down as well. But you look at our two finalists, Pittsburgh and San Diego. I think you've got that tourist attraction to kind of make this a whole vacation or a trip out of. Maybe just a little bit more to Pittsburgh, not too much smoke to Pennsylvania and your people, Ben Schneider. But I think this is a phenomenal place to really draw in potentially an international crowd. There's a couple places that would come up as a finalist for me. I think instantly a lot of people were thinking potentially a return to Del Mar Fairgrounds. That's where we saw IMSA and GTP run in late 80s, early 90s. But again, I think Coronado is perfect. It's logistically close enough to downtown. It's literally just across the Coronado Bay Bridge. And by the way, we call it Coronado Island, but it's technically a peninsula. So going to be a lot of traffic, I would imagine, if you're doing just the bridge, but you are able to, there are numerous ways to get in and out of there. God, there's so much cool things I could think of I will stay away from Philly, Ben, don't you worry. God, I mean, you could have the convention center, if it's not busy, have that be your makeshift pit. And then why not have haulers, teams, drivers make that jump over the Coronado Bay Bridge or take a ferry over to NAS North Island. I think there's so many cool opportunities for you to go and really promote this and make something unique. But I'm yapping a lot here, but I genuinely think it's the perfect place for NASCAR because it's a perfect tourist spot. Really all that San Diegans want is for you to try. We've seen that with the Padres here and they've just put enough capital and energy in putting a winning product on the field. And if NASCAR does the same thing and does heavy enough promotion and make it a kind of festival style environment, people are going to come. And most importantly, Josh, the weather statistic is kind of real. We are doing this kind of in June where there's a little bit of gloom, but I'm really liking our chances here compared to Chicago. I'll tell you that right now.
I want to ask one more question as well. Active Air Base, how many fans realistically will be allowed on an active air base? And
this is a phenomenal.
Actually like?
So I'll say this: you go to Coronado, you look at such a big chunk of the people that are still living in San Diego. It's either active military or family of active military. And you go, maybe an hour north and you still see maybe 50,000 people going up to the Marine Corps Air Station, Miramar, where the original Top Gun was filmed and going to their air show every October. So we see a lot of civilians on military property here in San Diego a couple times a year. And for reference, this is not Coronado's first time they're going to host a motor race. The Historic Motor Sports Association, HMSA, actually hosted a Coronado Speed Week, which was alongside Fleet Week. Did the exact same thing, closed off sections of the airstrips and taxiways and turned that into a temporary street course. This is obviously going to be to a major scale up, but it's something that they've done at least once or twice in the past decade. So I really think that this is something that this city is absolutely capable of, is ready for, and I think is just excited for.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh. Before you jump in, I just want to backtrack to a comment Jackson made about using the convention center. If you think back to supercars in the late 2000s, early 2010s, when they ran around the Sydney Olympic Park, scene of he's in the fence, they're both in the fence, they're all in the fence. They used one of the buildings there and had all the haulers in and made it a big fan parky indoor activity. A TV studio was in there and it worked really well. And of course, it gets all that stuff off the street, out of the way, that isn't perhaps what you want to go and look at. But if it's an indoor position, it's a big thing, much like we're going to see, of course, with Formula E XL this weekend.
And what we saw at Toronto over the weekend, because
exactly what I was going to say.
Used to be on the other side, didn't it, the pit paddock, and then moved it all inside the centre. And yes, it's one of the most awkward pit lanes on the calendar, but it does free up another grandstand opportunity.
And again, this is the difference here is you've got to jump bay to really make that move. But I think to have that be your fan center, if you're not able to have a long-lasting solution, I think there's a very, very cool opportunity there.
I want to go. I really do. I really hope it's possible, because I've got my media stuff already sorted with NASCAR. I would get the pass for the event, and I would go and I'd do the commentary from trackside. That would be an absolutely amazing spectacle. Can you imagine the pre-race ceremonies that we're going to have?
It's going to be incredible.
It's going to be fantastic. Oh, right. As we briefly mentioned at the top of the show, though, this does come at a price, because the Chicago Street Race won't be returning in 2026. Now, according to an article from WGN9, a local news station in Chicago, the city officials met with NASCAR representatives about a future return to the Chicago Street Course in Grant Park. Now, according to Chicago Alderman Brian Hopkins, he left the meeting convinced that NASCAR is committed to returning to the Windy City in 2027, 2028, and beyond. Now, Hopkins also praised NASCAR for learning from their mistakes that made life more challenging for the locals, and their commitment to doing more work within the city of Chicago, despite not racing there in 2026. However, Hopkins also believes that 2026 is a good time to hit the reset button and make sure that Chicago taxpayers get what they deserve for hosting this event. He went on to mention the need to break even for hosting these events, and says it's not enough for the city to have a small profit. The link is in the video description below. This is the statement they've put up, though. Thank you for all that you have done to make the NASCAR Chicago Street Race one of the most iconic events in global sports. Following the success of the first 3 years, the Chicago Street Race will hit pause in 2026 to afford us the time necessary to work collaboratively with the city of Chicago to explore a new potential date and develop a plan that further optimizes operational efficiencies with a goal to return to the streets of Chicago in 2027. Together, we have built and grown an expanded community of fans that consists of long-time NASCAR enthusiasts and first-time racegoers from around the globe. And for that, we are immensely grateful. Thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you at the races. Well, Matt, it's down with you again. Are you disappointed in the Chicago Street Race falling off the schedule for next year? And are you actually confident that it will return in the future? Because as we've said before on the show, can two street circuits coexist on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule?
Well, yeah, as I said before, yes, as a SVG fan, very disappointed, because he's won pretty much everything that has ever happened to that place. I mean, they've had their troubles, haven't they, with the weather, of course, in the first year was not ideal at all by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think the late start time particularly helped them. Like this year, I mean, it was a decent weekend. The fans, it just, I'll use a quote that Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi said on the teardown post that weekend, was it looked like we were suddenly getting a bit more momentum. The fans and the locals had suddenly got it. Right, this is here, it's this weekend, and they were coming out to show their support for the race. But perhaps trying to fit it into a different date on the calendar for next year is probably one of the main reasons why it has cost them being on the calendar for next year. But it does look promising that they can, as you said, Josh, have a little bit of a reset. They'll go away, think about what they can do differently, think about what's worked, what hasn't worked, etc., etc. They've got a bit more time to do that now, as opposed to being back on the schedule next year, where they would have to try and force things to fit. Perhaps they've got a few more months or whatever, if they're guaranteed a slot on the 27 schedule, to be there, which hopefully they will be. Well, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? about perhaps having 2 street races on the calendar before we perhaps knew that this San Diego race was going to be kind of do you know what I mean? It's not in the city as such. So that's a point of difference. We can have an in-town track and an out-of-town sort of street road course with San Diego, if that's going to continue for more than 1 year, which you would imagine it probably would do. To have a West Coast road course and an East Coast, Chicago's not east, but you know what I mean? It's on the east side of the country. An East side road course would be good. But then, of course, we'd have all the discussion that we had around the Chicago weekend of people that don't like road courses saying there's too many road courses. So as we're going to get to later when we get back to NASCAR, you can't please everybody all of the time. But I'm disappointed that Chicago's gone, but this already looks like it's going to be massive, and I can't wait for it, as you said before.
I'm starting to kind of struggle to see what this statement is like, because we see Thermal doing the same thing as we see Denver Thurston in chat asking if I could see the series permanently make 7 road courses. What are we at now, gents? 6 for this season, 6 or 7? Yes. If I do, I think street circuits are just so hard of a sell to this series right now. It's hard for me to imagine a world where NASCAR and San Diego can coexist. I think San Diego and Chicago can coexist. I think the big issue with Chicago is having it at the park. It was that kind of logistical problem that I think we would have seen if NASCAR tried to make it work downtown San Diego, because it's just in the middle of everything. So much traffic has to dilute. And that's a solution that NASCAR is able to, NASCAR and the city are kind of able to overturn by moving that over to North Island and kind of, keep a lot of things being standard when it comes to downtown. But I think it's going to stay around probably 6, I would say, with probably 5 natty road courses and then 1 street circuit. Look, San Diego seemed like it was all too good to be true for me. And I felt like it was going to be Chicago having to fall for that to happen. And once I saw the leaks for Chicagoland getting their revamps, I was like, maybe, I'm not sure, but it makes too much sense right now for that Chicago spot to be filled by Chicagoland. If not next year, then maybe 27 or 28. But you ask yourself where other road courses and where other big kind of long shot events fit into this. You got to ask yourself how long Mexico City is going to last, if that's logistically and financially feasible for the series. I would love to see Chicago return as an IMSA event, have some of the, ladder series get a chance. We never got to see the truck series run. I think seeing Pilot Challenge in the WeatherTech series give that course a run would be incredible. But again, they said they need to make a really big profit here in the returning year. And I don't know if that's going to have that same Cup Series level draw for that to really, be worth it. Matt Owens behind the mic making a really good point here. The 4th of July weekend was also a big crutch for Chicago. Absolutely. And what's supposed to be a very patriotic weekend for NASCAR, a league that embraces it so hard. I would not be surprised to see Iowa. Absolutely. Classic Midwest America. I think that makes the most sense for that to fill in. This is a very long answer to say I would love to see Chicago come back in some capacity. I think it's going to be really dependent on what the reception is for San Diego. And Matt, Josh, I think we could get to the point where Chicago's only real, remembrance is going to be that place where that Kiwi came and it rained really hard and he won out of nowhere.
That was actually the sort of the highlight, wasn't it? If Chicago Street Race comes back, make it a night race.
There we go.
Night. Yes, I'd like that.
I've been saying you got to put floodlights at Circuit of the Americas and have IndyCar go there as a night race. Have a Bahrain, Qatar style night race. We didn't even talk about this. Yeah, great grab for Prime to grab San Diego with that Father's Day time slot. And TNT going to lose that Chicago street race as a result. So that's going to be a big gain for Prime. I'm going to be really interested to see kind of how the pre and post race do. They did such a phenomenal job with production this year. And I know you guys are going to have your discussion. You guys have already been talking about how you think TNT has done on their production side of things. But some really, really cool opportunities media wise here with the city as well.
I'm glad that Prime have got it, to be fair. I was just thinking which one it would be, but I'm glad
Right.
Prime have locked that one in as well mid-season. Race 3 of the countdown, would it be? Yeah.
The rest of the calendar is expected via Ben Kennedy, and he said today in the next couple of weeks. So we should have
Excellent.
the absolute calendar for next year very soon.
Don't be surprised if we see Chicagoland.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
If they can get the money and they can get it done quick and get it sorted and squared away, then there's no reason why we can't be there next year.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? You don't want to lose the city completely, and Chicago is actually quite good. I would enjoy a race there. We've seen it before. Jackson, going to let you go now as well. Thanks for coming back onto the show tonight as well. You looking forward to this weekend of action?
Oh yeah, always.
You can be trackside. That's going to be
we're gonna see what I can do for you guys. Gonna be a good time. But phenomenal for me to come on and talk about this with you guys. And as always, thanks so much for having me.
Nice to have you as well. We'll see you soon. Enjoy and wear some sunscreen. It's going to be hot.
Will do. Cheers, boys.
So moving on to our second story of the evening as well. After failing as well to force his way out of the end of the 2025 season, Jorge Martin has announced that he will stay with Aprilia Racing for 2026. Now, Martin returned to MotoGP competition last weekend at Brno, and following a recovery from injuries and surgeries that have sidelined him for nearly the entire season, let's just remind you that that is 2 separate injuries he's had to recover from this year. He finished 7th in his first Grand Prix back and confirmed that his future during a press conference on Thursday before the race weekend. Martin told a reporter that he's happy to continue riding for Aprilia in 2026, and it's starting to feel like home there. And this comes after Martin previously posted on his social media pages about his desire to leave Aprilia. But now the defending champion has made the biggest U-turn possible. The photo courtesy there of Aprilia. Around the world, around the world. Well, you could see this one coming. I mean, it was sort of a 50-50 as we talked about the show, Matt, wasn't it? Where Aprilia didn't want to extend Martin's time at the team so that he could learn the bike. So Martin felt like, okay, I'll just leave then. I'll execute my contract. He wanted more time to learn the bike. Aprilia said no. And now it's sort of an unhappy marriage that sort of has gone to therapy and come out so far smiling. So what could have caused the sudden change of heart for Martin? And do you anticipate both sides being able to put the turbulent past behind them to move forward with a positive working relationship?
Well, first of all, pick up on something you said. It's actually 3 injuries, isn't it? Because we had the initial crash at Sepang, which ruled him out. Then in trying to get back fit for that, he fell off a supermoto bike in Andorra somewhere. That was what really set him back. And then we had the Qatar crash. I was going to mention this in Hots and Knots last week, that he's going to be cleared and he's coming back, and we never did. So getting to run through the story now. He did well. It was a good weekend for Aprilia, generally. Bezzecchi was up there in the podium battle and got second in the Grand Prix. And Martin had a solid, uncrashy. He had one slight run-in with Johan Zarco in the Grand Prix where they had a touch and a rub on the first lap. But other than that, he kept it clean, got to the end. And Massimo Rivola, the Aprilia boss, they showed him on TV as he came across the line, was standing there on the wall, clapping and smiling and cheering as if Martin had won the race or come on the podium. So all looking positive at this point for Jorge Martin and the Aprilia relationship. They're back. Apart from the fact that his contract does still run out at the end of next season, and he'll probably end up going to Honda. Because that's probably now what's going to happen. He'll just run this out. He's tried to go. They've said no. Without going through massive court proceedings to get out of it, just stay. Take the money, take the cash, pick up a podium, maybe a win here or there. We know the bike's fast. Bezzecchi won at Silverstone not so long ago, a few months back. So, and now he's got another 3 more weeks to heal up even more, because MotoGP have just started their summer break before they come back at the Red Bull Ring mid-August. So he's got more time now to recover from the fatigue of the first weekend, like full weekend. He's done all season, really, apart from Qatar, and come back strong again at a track that could, again, suit the Aprilia at Red Bull Ring. So yeah, it looks like everything's looking rosy from the outside. He's going to stay, but for how long? And they ended up going to Honda, which is much touted. So we'll keep a track of this story, as there's plenty of the Grid Network, the Grid Tonight pot of stories we always kept having to dip into every week. We're not going to FIA news this week. That's been put to one side, but the Jorge Martin Aprilia debacle we'll have to keep coming back to, because I fear it's not the end of this, even though at the moment, if you're from the outside looking in, it looks all pretty good and solid, and he had a good weekend. But still more to come on this, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you there. There's something else brewing underneath, and I think it'll hit round about the time we head to Japan, Australia, Malaysia towards the end of the season. I think that's when it'll start bubbling up as well, coming into it. Okay, so we'll bring you all that when we have it. And, of course, MotoGP returns with the Austrian Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. And speaking of FIA news, well, Formula One is back tomorrow with the press conference, and Christine Horner, that's a story to come into it. The FIA president's got another story to come into it as well. So it all kicks back tomorrow after their 2 weeks off to do 2 races back to back before a 3-week break. Confused? Yeah, so are we. But then again, it's July, and none of us can remember the last time we saw our loved ones. It's that type of year. Okay, moving on to our third story. I can hear you laughing. On to our third story of the evening as well. Now, for the longest time, NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin has been consistent about one thing. He doesn't like the current playoff format. Now, last month, Martin went on Kenny Wallace's podcast to go off about the current state of NASCAR. Now, Martin said that the integrity of the sport meant a lot to him and feels like his accomplishments are being diminished by gimmicks such as the playoffs. Here's a small clip from Wallace's podcast. Here in Martin's own words, what he thinks of the playoffs, among other things. The photo courtesy here of Getty Images.
The word playoff is very catchy. It's wonderful, except we ain't playing. Nobody plays, and there's not 2 people out there. It's not the same as ball sports. And I don't like it being called playoffs because it's not a playoff. Even the championship last round, if it was really a playoff, there'd be 4 cars on the track, not 36. I don't like calling it overtime. I'd rather call it green, white, checkered. Our races aren't timed. They're trying to make it like ball sports because the TV people, and I've heard this from some, they want the casual fan to be able to relate to the other ball sports because they think that those fans might watch. And if they flip over there and they're not a race fan, but they see sparks flying and everybody running over each other on these restarts, they might watch. The problem is when that's not going on, they might not watch. The old people, they'll watch it all, except they don't like what they're seeing now. So maybe they won't. And I think there's a problem with all that.
Now, yesterday, a short conversation on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio between Danielle Trotta and Larry McReynolds really upset lots of fans and industry members. They were discussing the continued argument between those who are pro and anti-playoffs. Now, shortly after that, a fan reached out to Martin on X to inform him about what happened on SiriusXM. He said as well, I'll read the tweet first. Hey Mark, SiriusXM Channel 90 threw shade on you without saying your name, but I knew they were talking about you in regards to wanting the old points system back. Larry McReynolds referred to you simply as a driver who has never won a championship. I was disgusted by that. Marks replied in a quotation tweet saying, they want a system that is different than what the majority of NASCAR Cup fans want. I just want the majority of fans to get what they want. Later on, Trotta responded to this thread and left a message for Martin, saying as well, no, Daniel said, Mark, you know I love you, but what we got is a whole lot better than what we used to do. We need a playoff. We need eliminations. We need to reward winning and consistency. This format does it all and is highly entertaining. Mark replied, no, we don't. Now, let's take a look at the clip that everybody has got fired up about.
They have these committees now where drivers sit in, and I'm not going to mention the driver that's on the playoff committee that I have heard is screaming loudly to go back to that system, and I pray to God everyone in NASCAR inside that room.
I bet it's a driver that's not won a championship. Would I be right on that? Bingo.
Correct.
You got a winner, Johnny.
Let's keep moving forward, not backward.
Well, Denny Hamlin has said pretty disrespectful to one of the best to ever strap in. Everyone assumed that they were referring to Martin as the driver to never win a championship. McReynolds flat out denied that he was taking a shot at him. Larry Mack has said, absolutely not true. Martin is my hero. I'm proud to call him a friend. If you would listen closely, it's a driver that is active and on the council. I find it so hard to believe how you folks come up with this stuff sometimes. Now, about an hour before tonight's show, Trotta posted on X in defense of what happened yesterday on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, stating, sorry to disappoint those that made false assumptions, but I never mentioned or referred to Mark Martin yesterday when a caller asked about playoff format. I didn't know Mark was on the playoff committee until we spoke by phone after the show. Mark is a championship caliber driver and a Hall of Famer who I respect very much. We had a great conversation and respect our differences in opinion. Brackets, what a novel idea. Close brackets. He and I both want to see NASCAR be successful and believe respectfully discourse is a great way to achieve that goal. I'm deeply disappointed by those online that took my words out of context and made false assumptions, which were potentially damaging and irresponsible. Let's strive to be better to each other and enjoy the sport we all love. Now, whether the driver they're referring to as Martin or someone like Denny Hamlin, one thing is clear. The Hall of Famer remains passionate about the sport he loves. As Jeff Gluck from The Athletic stated, Martin never won a championship in the full season format that he wants to see return, which can only increase his credibility on this subject. Well, Ben's back with us for this one as well. I'm going to start off with a question for him tonight as well. Are Trotta and Larry Mack out of touch with how the majority of people feel about the playoffs? And is it disrespectful to suggest that a driver who didn't win a championship shouldn't have a seat at the table?
Well, first of all, good evening, Josh. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening.
Want to thank Joe Samaniego for filling in for me on Encore Monday night. I've been doing a lot of traveling recently, and people should maybe be thankful that I'm a little jet lagged. Otherwise, I think I'd be a little more fired up than I already am. I don't even know where to begin. This is so disrespectful. It's so condescending, quite frankly, from two individuals who I think should know better. I respect Larry McReynolds. I respect Danielle Trotta. I can't really say I respect this. First of all, whichever driver they were referring to, it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, we all know it. And Larry said, guy that hasn't won a championship, who's been the most vocal among drivers who haven't won a championship? We could already narrow it down to 2 to 3. If we're going to be bold enough to throw this kind of discourse out there, at least tell us, make it clear who you're talking about rather than trying to walk it back here with comments a day later based on how social media reacts to it. That was incredibly frustrating from my perspective. I don't think you win people over by saying, let's move forward, not backward. Let's pray to God that NASCAR doesn't listen to these people. You attack the argument. You don't attack the individual. You don't take a shot at them and say, oh, they never won a championship. And thank you to Jeff Gluck for pointing out that the fact that Mark Martin didn't win a championship, he did everything but, I guess, aside from winning a Daytona 500 as well, and he came very close to doing that also. He finished second 5 times, one of which wasn't even under a full season format. It was under the chase format in 2009. The fact that he wants to go back to a format or wants fans to get what they want in going back to a format where he didn't win a championship only increases his credibility when it comes to this subject. We've heard Joey Logano talk countless times. Who in their right mind wants to go back to how we used to do things? The guy's won 3 championships under this format. What do you expect him to say? So the fact that Mark is saying this as somebody who hasn't won a championship, I think only strengthens his case rather than weakening it. And then for the discourse to continue here today, I mean, people know where I stand on the issue of playoffs. And again, I think Mark brilliantly said it in that clip there as well. Why do we call it playoffs? You don't play racing, you race. Why do we call it overtime? This isn't a timed sport. It's so incredibly frustrating, but to see it continue today, and Ryan Blaney, another champion of the sport, to get on SiriusXM and talk about how, under the old format, under a full season format, you could have a guy win 8 races, but not win the championship. Have we forgotten that just 5 years ago, Kevin Harvick won 9 races and didn't win the championship? Have we forgotten that hypothetically and theoretically, it would never happen because there's so much parity in the sport, but you could, in theory, win 35 races in a season under this format and then finish 4th in the 36th and not even finish top 3 in the championship? Have we forgotten about that? Have we forgotten that Matt Crafton won a championship in the Truck Series under this format without winning a single race at any point in the season? You want to talk about a format that emphasizes winning. Winning, you're in. Winning is what matters above all else. And yet you have drivers that have such dominant seasons. I mean, it could have happened to Kyle Larson. He had 9 wins going into the finale in 2021. He thankfully got his 10th win and won the championship that he thoroughly deserved. But had his pit crew not stepped up in the clutch, we could have been talking about him the same way that we talk about Kevin Harvick. So, I mean, again, I would love to have a conversation with whether it's Danielle Trotta or Larry McReynolds or anybody on social media who likes the format that we have, who defends the format that we have. Could you give me a defense of the format that you like rather than shooting down people who don't? And I'm reminded of what Pete Pistone said a couple years ago when people say we shouldn't have a playoff in NASCAR. You need to get to some sort of group to get over yourself because we're not going backwards. Come on, man. Like, can you at least tell me why you like what we have now? Tell me what you appreciate. Tell me why you think it's better, and I'll listen to you. I don't think you're going to win me over. It's been over a decade at this point, and I'm still convinced that the Latford system is the way to go, or at least some sort of full season championship format. Maybe you give a higher emphasis for wins over second places if you want to emphasize winning a little bit more. That's fine, but the champion, in my view, should be who was the best driver over the course of a season, not who got hot at the right time, who survived a quintuple overtime finish at Nashville and then got fortunate when Alex Bowman got disqualified following the final round of 12 race to get back into the round of 8 and then won the 2 races he needed to win the championship, even though he only had a 17.1 average finish. I'm not calling Joey Logano an undeserving champion for last year. I'm just saying when you look at the season that he had, all power to him for manipulating the system to his advantage. The rules are the same for everybody. I get all that. But you cannot look at the season that he had and say that he was even a top 5 driver all throughout the season, let alone the best driver who 50 years from now, when people look back in the history books and they say, oh, Joey Logano, 2024, he must have been the driver of the year, the one that everybody had to beat week in and week out. And maybe they look further down the page and they see he only had a 17.1 average finish, but you're not going to see that at first glance. So that's what I want from my champions. That's the argument that I'm making. And when people get on, and I don't want to throw too much shade at SiriusXM here, but it does seem like they are consistently, and their hosts are consistently the source of these conversations here. When we hear people say these sorts of things, it does nothing to win my side over. Why is so much of the argument attacking the people on the other side rather than the arguments on the other side? And the last point I'll just make about this, I thought it was very ironic, the last thing that Danielle Trotta said, let's move forward, not backwards. Have you ever taken a look at the television ratings chart from 2004 to the present day, the last 20 years or so? Have you noticed the direction that the chart has continued to move in year after year? Maybe it's been stable, here in the 2020s, maybe it's trending back up a little bit, but you want to talk about taking the sport backwards. Again, just the TV ratings, the attendance, the amount of grandstands that we've torn down, the fact that we continue to look back at races from 15, 20 years ago and see where we used to be and how can we get back to where we used to be. And we don't link the two together. We don't see the common denominator. Do you know more people watched the season finale in 2003 when Matt Kenseth had already clinched for championship? I think all he had to do was take the green flag. Maybe he didn't even have to do that. we hear all the time people say, "Oh, no, nobody's going to watch if the championship's already decided. It's boring. You just have to go through the motions, everything." More people watch that race than watch the Daytona 500 here in the 2020s. I just want everybody to think about that for a second. You constantly say nobody's going to watch, and yet you had more people watching back when that was the format than are watching the format now. And to Mark's point about trying to bring in the casual racing fan doesn't seem interested in what we're doing. The ratings haven't gone up. If anything, they've gone the opposite direction. And you've had the opposite effect. Instead of bringing those casual fans, those stick and ball sports fans in, you make the comparisons to the 2007 Patriots that, I mean, it's a complete apples and oranges comparison to make. Those fans haven't been coming in, and the fans that have been watching for decades have seemed to be pushed out. So again, just it is so incredibly frustrating that we cannot, and I said this on this very show last November when all the Martinsville insanity was going down. The biggest defense of the playoff system to me appears to be complaining about other people complaining about the system. And I just wish that for once we could actually have a conversation about the strengths of each of these formats, the strengths of each of these sides of the argument, rather than just completely dismissing people like myself who feel very strongly that we should determine our champions over the course of a full season. And count Mark Martin among that, I guess, count Denny Hamlin among that, whoever this driver was that they were referring to. And I know, again, they've tried to walk back some of their comments, but also at the same time have accused the fans of making assumptions. And it's so incredibly frustrating. And again, I feel like I'm rambling here. I'm talking in circles. I'm going to let Matt get a word in here so that I can take a breath, take a sip of my Baja Blast and try to calm down a little bit. But I am so tired of not even being given the chance to be heard out, because if you like how we used to do it, then you're stuck in the past and you don't want to keep the sport moving forward. I think it is incredibly condescending and incredibly disrespectful, especially to somebody of Mark Martin or Denny Hamlin's caliber, somebody who's in the Hall of Fame and somebody who, unless they hold a grudge like they have for Smokey Yunick all these years with how this lawsuit's going out, Denny Hamlin's going to be in the Hall of Fame the second he's eligible as well. So again, I just, the constant putting down of people on this side of the argument is just, I'm over it. I'm over it. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Points are rising from what Ben has said and what Josh did as a story and the clips that we heard. Assumption, tremendously small word, massive big consequences. Everyone assumed, based off of one person's reply to that clip, that everyone was talking about Mark Martin when that was clearly not the case. And seemingly it was, I'm going to go with, they were talking about Denny Hamlin. So that's point A. Point B, every time we have a generally calm Sunday where there isn't massive drama in playoff land, we'll get to that in a moment, or we have a crazy finish or a disqualification or anything newsworthy, we come back to this on social media every single time. And as Ben says, it's been in since whatever year now. It's not going away. I have been a full-time NASCAR fan in this system only. I don't know it any other way. I enjoy it. I think it's good. You can get to September, and I'll align with maybe Formula One on this, where the point leader is clear. He's not being caught. Perhaps he has a few duff races in the fall, but it's done. Take the Michael Schumacher era in Formula One, for instance. He had a championship wrapped up in July one year. In this format, we still get the storylines. We get the drama of the playoff cut-line bubble. I mean, look, at the moment, we have the seeding drama of, well, we didn't have a great weekend last weekend, but all of a sudden it was, oh my goodness, SVG is going to be seed number one. We never saw this coming. Some of us did. We have a regular season championship battle that's damn close between 5 or 6 people. We're not talking about that, are we? Cut line bubble drama going on pre obviously the playoffs beginning in September. And then every 3 weeks we get cut line bubble drama and storylines and great racing and sometimes not so great racing. And it keeps the news cycle going round. If you had a points full season system over this massive season that we have of 38 races, whatever it is, you're going to have tremendous gaps between people in the point standings where win points wouldn't vault you like they do with the playoff system. I'm not going to defend everyone's opinions. Everyone's got the right to their opinion, but opinions are like noses. Everybody's got them. Some people's opinion or nose is more nice to look at than others. The TV ratings comment that you made, Ben, if you roll back to 2003, the internet really wasn't a thing. Netflix, gone. Disney Plus, Apple, Amazon, all of that. People are watching that stuff every single day of the year, and they're not watching linear TV anymore. That is just a simple fact. I can't remember what year it was now, in the UK, the BBC, who did not show the Champions League, got a Champions League game moved back by half an hour so that 7.5 million people could watch Phil Mitchell get shot on EastEnders. The Champions League game that Liverpool were in was on ITV. That stuff will not ever happen anymore. Granted, that's parochial to the UK. You're going to get people watching that because that's all they had. If you were sat in on a Sunday afternoon and it was raining and there wasn't much else going on, stick the race on. Now we've got a myriad of options. You can just sit on Instagram for 3 hours while there's a cup race going on. TikTok, Netflix, YouTube. We're here. We're on YouTube right now. Prime, all the others. Eyeballs are not fixed in a certain position of television anymore. We need to stop going after TV ratings. I know it's difficult. I know we have to hark back to it all the time. We're not in the same world in 2025 as we were in 2022, 2023. It's just not. You can't compare. It's like comparing the champions of, he's the greatest of all time against such and such different eras. We have that conversation all the time. We can't compare TV ratings in the same minutiae. I'm sorry. I'll never get that.
I feel like we're in a round table right now.
Maybe a round table that's getting on. I'm tired enough as it is.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I do have some responses to that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I'm sure there's comments that we've got to read too. There's nothing wrong with the system that we have. It's the people that complain about it that's the problem. That's my end point. If you just took it for what it was, every 3 weeks or whatever, it's entertaining.
Ben?
And granted,
should
sorry, quickly, one more thing to add on. I agree with you about your Joey Logano point. Absolutely agree. And more of this stuff has come about over the last month or so because Shane Van Gisbergen's winning races. He's in the playoffs, but he's way down the regular season championship points. I've said this for the last 3 or 4 weeks on this show. He's doing the job he's employed to do. Give the guy a break.
Yes, I have not. Listen, I have no problem with SVG being the.
But other people have.
It's not his fault. This is the system that we have in Trackhouse. Yeah, more power to them.
Yeah.
Should we be determining our champions based on the entertainment value or based on the strength of our drivers' seasons? That would be my response to that.
Yeah.
I've got a solution. You want to hear it?
Go on.
Get rid of the if you win, you're in. That would solve everything. If you get rid of if you win a race, you're automatically in the playoffs, how much would that make everything better? Because if you can still have your playoffs, yeah, but just redo it then. Give it back. Just get rid of this if you win, you're in automatic rubbish. Because that's the only reason why everyone last year was complaining about Logano, was because he won, 3 races? And he won the 3 races he needed to win. Get rid of the automatic you're in, and the season becomes a lot better. Because you still get the regular season, you still get the cut, and then you still get the playoffs, and you still get the eliminations week upon week. It just makes it better to watch. And then you're not having everybody running away. Was that the chase format then?
The chase format would have been the top 10 in points after.
Yeah, we'll get
gets reset. Everybody gets brought back together, and then you sprint to the finish. And quite frankly, at this point, I will take that over what we have now. I think that's a good compromise from what because I understand that again, people want to. I hate bringing up the stick and ball comparisons, but people want to compete against the NFL. You don't want to end your season in August. I guess that's the direction that IndyCar has gone here. But again, Matt, to your point about TV ratings as well, it's not. I get what you're saying. I know that all sports and everything. I say all sports. The NFL just broke records again with the Super Bowl, but all sports aside from the NFL, for the most part, are in decline. All TV ratings are in decline. I'm a game show fan. I follow stuff that goes on here in the States and in the UK. I remember when 19 million people in the UK, 1 in 3 of the British population, were watching a single episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's never going to happen again. I get all that, but it's the amount. It's the rate at which the ratings have declined, the rate at which they have tanked, the rate at which they have nosedived, and the fact that they have not been able to rebound in any sort of way, shape, or form, contrasted to how other sports have kind of a graphic that looks a little bit like this. It goes up and down a little bit. With NASCAR, you look at their chart from the mid-2000s, then into the 2010s, now into the 2020s, and it's just a pretty steady decline all the way down. If the system was designed to bring people in, I don't see how it's doing that right now.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. But even since the pandemic, there's even more streaming services, giving more people more opportunities to go and watch elsewhere.
The system was brought in before the pandemic. The ratings were declining before the pandemic. So that's
no.
Are we in agreement that we need something to change in the system, though? Like, we can keep the playoff format the way to maximize. Does the actual way it works need to change in order to be modern? That's the question. Because if you think about it, Netflix.
I'll let Matt take it. I think my answer is pretty obvious. But
you've got Prime, who have got 5 races, and they were the best 5 races that everybody's agreed has been on television for NASCAR for decades. Everyone loved it. There was barely any complaints. But then you've got Netflix, who have their reality show like Drive to Survive Formula One, but that solely takes place around the playoffs. So NASCAR still sees the playoffs as forget the other 20-odd races a year that we all watch and put effort and time into. The effort is on these last 16 races. So do we need to sort of redo how that format works? Keep the premise, just redo how it looks. Because as I thought, if you get rid of the in to win, everything suddenly becomes a lot more interesting.
I mean, this is, I think, part of the problem with a message from Matthew Owens, who says, I despise not being on with you guys right now. Hello, Matthew. This is the part of the problem with the season being so long as well. If it was 20 races, there wouldn't be a playoff. It heightens everything because it's compacted down, perhaps.
I don't know about that either. It's been what, 2001, I think, was when we went to 36 races, right?
30. Yeah.
So
something like that.
I don't know, and again, it's like the same discussion the NBA's having right now with the rise in injuries. They're like, oh, you play too many games. How many years have we been playing 82 games? How many years have we had, a calendar of at least 30, 32, 36 races? Like, I don't know if that's necessarily. I think we could go down a little bit. I've been advocating for 30 to 30, 32. I think that's a good number to land on, but I don't know if having 36 races. I mean, F1's boomed from 17 to 24 races. And Max Verstappen's been running away. Do you see F1 fans saying, "Oh, look at what NASCAR's doing"? That's a really great system to ensure that their championship goes down to the checkered flag in the last race. We got to bring something like that to Formula One. I don't see any F1 fans really clamoring for that.
Hello, 2021, my old friend.
But what? Okay, but I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because aside from how the race ended with a safety car, what makes a season like 2021 so special? What makes the 1992 season in NASCAR so special? It's because it doesn't happen every year. When you try to guarantee it to happen every year, it doesn't feel as special when it comes down to a checkered flag.
Think about it, the way with the British Touring Car Championship as well, and I don't know how they do it, it always goes down to the last race of the year because of how the point system is worked out.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, what are we on the run now of? 14 years? It's always gone down to the final? And that's purely by luck. It's insane.
And that's on full season points. thing.
Yeah, full
Well,
season
but
point.
Yeah, IndyCar was doing that before Alex Palou started dominating within the last couple of years. I think they were on a stretch of 18 years in a row. I think it came down to the last race. So I want to catch up on the chat here because I see we've got some comments in the
We need a full show on this, I feel.
That's what it's turning into at this point. Yeah,
another of our off-season shows that need to be added to the list.
Okay, lost all respect to
McReynolds. I wouldn't go that far. They're entitled to their opinions. They've accomplished a great deal in the sport, far more than I could dream of accomplishing, especially in Larry Mack's case. I disagree with their opinions on this issue, and I wish they had gone about it in a slightly different way. That's all. I wouldn't say I've lost all respect for them.
Yeah, so the radio team just beat the drum that NASCAR wants to hear and doesn't want to discuss any politics. I mean, basically just calling the NASCAR radio team basically a version of Fox News. Beats the drum, but nothing actually ever gets changes. I think that's I can say that as a Brit. I can say that.
Can of worms either here, but it does seem like they are. But yeah, again, they are hesitant to provide any sort of criticism about this sport, and I understand that from a certain perspective, but I do think at some point certain things get to be too objective that they need to be called out. Not just on this issue. There's a whole host of other issues.
Yeah, you can watch the Grid Network launching on CBS next year as well. I think there's a vacant slot there at night. Now, the biggest stars show up and shine the brightest in the biggest moments, which is what we want. Give me 3 race championship round as well.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to Brian. I met him at Sonoma, and glad to see that he's watching here. And I will say I would consider that an improvement. I think my single biggest issue with what we do now is this sport is too chaotic. We saw it in 2016. Carl Edwards appeared to be on his way to a championship, and you had Dylan Lupton, of all people, lose a tire. That brought out a caution, completely changed the outcome of the race, and therefore the entire season's championship. If you have a 3-race championship round, I still don't love it. I still don't love the format at all, but it leaves less room for error and fewer variables that can have a direct impact on that one winner-take-all race. That's the single biggest issue I have, and that would be a fix for that.
And that's been discussed in the round, hasn't it, about them? That was talked about 6 weeks ago. There was some internet chatter about perhaps changing that and having a longer championship round.
Look at that, won 3 races. Kurt Busch, the first chase driver with 8 wins, came short of the title by 8 points. It isn't to Kurt Busch as well. And I think everybody got riled up after Logano won last year because everyone was like, doesn't really deserve it. And I was one and thought, he sort of. Go on.
Yeah, that's another great point there. Yeah, but we could open the overtime can of worms too, because Austin Dillon should have won that race on pace and merit before the Stenhouse crash.
And if Alex Bowman hadn't been disqualified at the Roval, Logano wouldn't have been through. So you can have that on the list too.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm not. You see, and I've seen, because I've been tweeting about this the last 24, 48 hours. I've seen people in my replies talk about how Logano doesn't deserve his championship. There are people that say that. I'm not one of them. Like I said, I'm not one of the people that's saying, look, SVG's 26th in points or whatever. He doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. He's won 3 races. The rules are the rules. They're the same for everybody. He's really good on road and street courses. More power to him. You can criticize. Yeah. The other thing I wish we could separate. You can criticize the system without criticizing the individuals who play it to their advantage, because again, the rules are the same for everybody out there. It's not like Joey Logano says, "Oh, well, I am great at the championship race at Phoenix, and this is a system that I'd like, and NASCAR is going to listen to everything I say. Here's the system." Of course, he didn't come up with this. He didn't ask for this. It's the same for everyone.
I love Denver's point here.
Can I just pick back off Denver's point here about the consistency stuff? Chase Elliott this year, granted, Sunday didn't go his way. He's won a race, and look at how consistent he's been. Yeah. And if he continues to be that consistent, he might find himself in the championship race at Phoenix.
He's been that good this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if he wins, then it's the opposite to the Logano argument for me. I know there's still a long way of the season to go, but
I don't know, because now we're coming to the Brickyard, aren't we? And everyone's been going, SVG might go well here. And I hope he does, because then it might give people who are saying, he doesn't deserve to be there. Oh, maybe he does. Because
everyone's remembering the Darrell Waltrip comments of the road course races should go well at Martinsville because they need to use the brakes. Well, it didn't work out quite well for Juan Pablo Montoya at Indianapolis in that race where he should have won.
No, it didn't. Again, there's a lot of things about Juan Pablo coming into it as well. Now, top 4 should have automatically bide to the round of 12. Oh.
Regular season champion, I agree. Top 4, I think that's
one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, that if you win the regular season, you should be automatically in. That I agree with, because otherwise there's just nothing to it at the moment. There's no merit to it. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
And, of course, they give them all those extra playoff points for being the regular season championship. That doesn't automatically put them in, but it kind of gives them a helping hand. And we saw what happened with Martin Truex Jr. a couple of years ago when he was awful in the playoffs, but he kept making his way through with all his playoff points. The Supercar playoff is better than NASCAR playoff. You can say that, Denver, but we haven't actually seen it play out yet.
Yeah, we've got to wait.
the first go over, and we've got the last round of the regular season at Queensland in a couple of weeks' time before we go into Enduros. So, yes, we've not seen it come full circle. We don't have a data set, let's say, to go off of on that one.
What about BSB?
Well, and they've changed theirs, haven't they? Because that used to be more similar to the NASCAR one in terms of you get to a certain point and the people above the cut line would be in, and then they would chop them after every round, I think it was, and rounds were 3 races. Now they've changed it over the last couple of years where the races towards the end of the season pay more points. It's still a full season championship as such, but the points differences in the later races pay more points. And again, BSB, much like touring cars, a couple of, not all of them, but a couple down the years, Tommy Hill and John Hopkins springs instantly to mind, and Ride and Bridewell last year at Brands Hatch. Incredible races when it was whoever finishes in front of the other wins the championship.
But I've just realised why my chair broke all those months ago with the gas cylinder. The line's been cut. Well, I've just been fiddling with it down the bottom. I've just seen it's got a clean cut in the line. So if that was me brakes, someone's cut me brakes on my chair. So someone's obviously, it's Danica Patrick. She's after me. Either that, Mohammed Ben Salam's just having a go at me. Let's not pretend like the top 2 to 4 guys in the playoff standings don't already have a fairly simple path to the championship race as long as they don't miss their shots. Yeah, it kind of is as well. I think we need a long show on this. I think we need a podcast, episode coming up on this. Why are people mad that Logano's adjusted to being able to take advantage of the format better than anybody else? It's just, I think, because last year it was how he did it. I think that was the thing because of all the stuff that started.
I think last year was particularly extreme. It's probably about as extreme as it's ever going to get because of how he won the one race that he did in Nashville, because of how he got into the round of 8, because of how low his average finish was in comparison to the other champions under this format. And people make the argument like you could finish last in every race if you win one of the first 26, and then you could win the first race in the round of 16 and then finish last again twice. And I see this, it's going to be a little while before we get to it, but Matthew Owens making the comment about how we don't need buys, we don't need teams checking out for 3+ weeks. I don't know, if you win the first race in the round of 16, I think you get to check out for 2+ weeks, right? I mean, you're already in the next round. You can just spend the next 2 weeks as like a testing session to gain data for similar tracks throughout the remainder of the playoffs. You're not.
It's why I said just get rid of it.
Yeah.
If you get rid of it,
that's basically a buy right there, right? We kind of have buys as the system currently stands. When you think about it.
Also, to Brian's point about Logano before, we've talked about the reasons kind of why. Also, it was Joey, and not a lot of people outwardly are. If it had been someone else, maybe it might have been different. And we saw what happened to Ryan Blaney the year before when he, did his miraculous couple of wins towards the end of the season, got him in, and then got him to the championship. But Joey, of course, not the massive fan favorite that other people are. That again, he was up against in that championship race last year.
The glove on the speedway. The glove. That was what did it for me. Start of the year, I thought, here we go. It's going to be one of those years, is it? A reminder that this format is better than pre-stages when regular season accomplishments, playoff points, were awarded 0. Now, the regular season story matters light years more than in 2014. That's true. It does actually matter now.
What we have now is better than what we had from 2014 to 2016. That is an objective fact, in my opinion, because at least now the playoff points carry over. And I know Matthew grew up a diehard Jeff Gordon fan. Jeff Gordon certainly could have used some of those in 2014, and who knows how that would have rewritten the history books. But yeah, what we have now is an improvement from what we did the first 3 years of the elimination format. I will say that.
Do we have any more comments coming through? Because I have just seen the time. As long as there is cutoffs, we still like to see 2024 Martinsville fiasco.
Yeah.
No, it's time for the whiskey.
It's still going to happen. I still think it will always happen in some shape or form. I feel like they did not quash that last year in a major way that they could have done. Another one from Matthew says, if you take away the winning in, you take away NASCAR having the most important and intense regular season in major American sports. Every week is meaningful, unlike other sports leagues.
What if we just take it away for the playoffs?
So if you win the first 26, you're in. If you win the round of 16 opener, you're not in the round of 12. Is that what you're saying, Josh?
It just gives you the winning point in the point standings.
Yeah. I think people have suggested that, but again, I feel like if you start taking away those kinds of characteristics from this format, then what's the point of having the format?
Hang on. If we've learned anything from the past 48 hours, is the fact that NASCAR can change the rules mid-season. We've had 4 rule changes in the past 2 days. We can change anytime we like.
I mean, yeah, you're not. They put a 13th driver in the chase. They brought the stage cautions back for the Roval a couple of years ago.
Sure, Helio got into the 500.
That too. I wonder how many times that rule book has been adjusted this year, thinking about it. It's got to be a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything to help a court case, eh? But if you win, I wonder if they learned that off. Could be a president, could it? Now, but if you win, both of them actually. But if you win the first race, you can go after the next 2. Yeah, that's the point. If you win the first race and you win, what's to stop Byron coasting throughout the rest of the year? Which I think he pretty much has done, hasn't he? Byron has coasted. He's had a couple more wins, but he's coasted.
But you could do this if you win the regular season championship, get a bye to the round of 12. You could still go out and win the round of 16. Anyway, it's not like you would. You know, it's not like a 1 seed in the NFL playoffs where they don't play that week. I don't think you would be suggesting they're going to sit out for 3 weeks. Like they could still go. I mean, Logano did that in 2015, right? He swept the whatever it was round of 12, I think.
Yes.
And then he went to Martinsville, and absolutely nothing of significance happened at that race. We remember that.
Have you seen the Instagram with the Fox guys calling it? It's fantastic. Brian makes a great point here. Winning race in this car is difficult as ever. Thus, it should come with an auto advance. Are we also seeing possibly the problem with the conformation is the fact that the Gen 7 is so hard to drive? I like that. Rules with a pencil can be erased. I like that. I'm so fed up about that.
I'll defer to Matt here to an extent, because I've seen people make the argument. I think Tanner actually said this on one of the Grid Live weekend shows, that if SVG was doing this, say, in the Marcus Ambrose era of like Gen 5 or Gen 6, maybe he wouldn't have picked it up as quickly, because the Gen 7 or the next gen car has more characteristics that resemble what he's used to in supercars. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. But
yeah, no, I agree. And I mentioned this. When did I mention this? One of our USRN calls of one of the road course races recently, where in that era of the road courses, we had Marcus winning and maybe AJ would pick up a win. You had more carnage and chaos going on because the car was absolutely awful to drive on road courses and no one could do it properly. In comes someone that can do it properly, and look what happens. Because this car is more a road coursey car than the old car was, which was just really made for turning left and would only have to turn right twice a year at Watkins and at Sonoma.
There's now a precedent coming in saying that maybe we should be having a few more road courses then, but we're going to have a podcast. I think there's so much wrong with NASCAR.
People complaining about having more than 13% of the season on road courses already. So
You thought Formula One was bad. Formula One this year is a breeze compared to what NASCAR's been like, and IndyCar. In fact, the entire of America at the moment just seems like it's on fire. I hope everybody's
Thanks,
okay
Brian.
with it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Oh,
Brian.
great. Thank you very much. Keep them coming as well as we move on. But we are going to end the segment there. We're going to have to do a podcast on this. I feel like it'd be like 3 days long. And we'll all be rowing. But it would be fantastically fun to do so. We'll have to have a word with Joe about that. Ben, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, even though you are insanely jet lagged from you dotting around the entirety of the country. What are you looking forward to coming into this weekend? And please do not mention NASCAR.
Well, I guess I'm looking forward to, Formula One being back is going to be interesting. Max to Mercedes rumors have kind of been a whole whirlwind here. People are now using flight trackers, I guess, to try to get leads on conversations that are happening, which is kind of crazy to me. I think he's going to be back in a Red Bull at this point. It sounds like Toto's committed to Kimi and George going forward, at least for 26. But I am, again, I'm looking forward to getting back to what I think will be a proper full season championship fight between the McLaren boys, and we'll see how that plays out there. I think Max is, I hope that I'm not wishing any ill will upon him, but it'd be nice to get a new champion and nice to have some parity here. And I think he's simply too far back at this point. The Red Bull car simply isn't good enough. So I'm looking forward to that. And Josh, Matt, I'm looking forward to being in your neck of the woods, because if you can believe it, a week from tomorrow, I'm going to be hopping on a flight to London to visit my cousins who live in the UK. So, I've got even more travel coming up, if you can believe it. I've taken 2 back-to-back trips to the West Coast. Now I'm back here for a week and a half. Then I got on a flight across the pond to go in the other direction. So,
how long are you here for?
About 5 days, 5 or 6 days. I think I fly in on a red eye. We'll land in the morning on August 1st, and then we come back on August 6th. So,
fantastic! Perfect time. It's gonna be nice weather. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Where in the world is Ben Schneider? Yeah. New game. Where's Ben?
Where's Ben?
I'm back in New England for now, but I will be. Yeah. So again, stay tuned for. I'm sure Encore is going to look a little bit different. Should be back to normal this week, and then we'll probably get a fill-in host for next week again, or we'll push it back. We'll figure something out. But we'll and thank you, Denver, as well. I appreciate the support. Thank you to everybody again. Brian in particular, great to see him in the chat tonight. Met him at Sonoma in the media center. It was great working that for Brock again, and great to be back with you guys. Even when we don't always see eye to eye on how we crown our champions, or discourse going on about whatever's happening in the sport, but it's always a pleasure, guys. And I wish that sometimes the Twitter conversations that I have with the bots, I guess we can call them. That's what NASCAR calls us, right? Just a bunch of bots. I wish that sometimes they could be as pleasant as these conversations that we have here on the Grid Network. And I'm thankful to you guys for allowing me onto your show to have a place where we can continue the conversation in this manner.
Well, this is how discourse works and how conversation works. I know as an American, you might not be familiar with it, with your debates, usually going down a different route. But yes.
Don't remind me. That was the worst debate in the history. Well, I know we don't want to open that. You guys have been on for an hour and 18 minutes, and you're 5 hours ahead of me. I think it's almost midnight over there, right?
It's 2 minutes to midnight.
Please go ahead, finish the rest of your show. Have a great rest of your evening here, and early morning, as it will be in a couple minutes. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Ben. Take care. Safe travels, mate. See you soon.
Appreciate it.
Where are we in the script? I haven't even got it up now. I brought you guys up on the main screen. Oh, is it you? Right, go on then. Here's the latest then for the Greedy API with Matt White.
Running late, but sounding great. It's time for this week's Grid Endurance Performance Index update. Only a couple of races to tell you about from the weekend. Good job, really, as we're so far into the show already. And we'll start with the GT World Challenge Europe. The Sprint Cup was at Misano. And because it was at Misano, we had a special entry. It was that car there. A certain doctor came to play, Valentino Rossi, joined by a Lello, Raffaele Marciello, and they picked up the win on Saturday night in the gloaming under lights there at Rossi's home track. Of course they did. So they were the victors in race 1. Race 2 saw a first win in a very long time for McLaren in the Sprint Cup, and a first win for Garage 59. Benji Gotha and Marvin Kerkhofer getting the win in the sunshine on Sunday afternoon. They weren't the only GT World Challenge regional series in action at the weekend, because the American Championship was about an hour away from Kobe at VIR, and Alex Sedgwick and Jan Halen got the victory for the RS1 Porsche team. That picture clearly is taken at Sebring, but they were the winners of both races over the weekend for the Porsche squad there. So let's have a look at see what that has done to the point standings in the grid EPI for week number 17. No change really at the top at all. The only change is in the bottom of the top 10, where Hugo de Wilde jumps into the top 10. He wasn't part of it last week. Kenta Yamashita and Sho Tsubo, the Super GT champions from last year and current points leaders in that championship, are our points leaders in the Grid Endurance Performance Index at week 17. And Super GT is back in action in a couple of weeks' time in Fuji, so they've got a guaranteed couple more weeks at the top of the standings, unless something really wacky happens with the points. This weekend is another quiet one. We've only got the Australian GT World Challenge Championship in action there at Sandown, just outside of Melbourne, for 2 sprint races over the weekend. For those guys, there is the top 50. Plenty of moving and shaking around in there. Raffaele Marciello, they're dropping, I just noticed, into 40th position with his win at the weekend. WEC not too far away. IMSA at Road America not too far away. So more point shuffling going on with the major series getting their races back involved. We'll bring you the Sandown results on the show next week, and a updated point score for what will be week number 18 as we close in on 100 races scored of the 157, I believe the number is off the top of my head. Let's bring back Kobe, because he's been sat very patiently to bring you the rest of the headlines from the week.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. And for the second consecutive year, Mazda MX-5 Cup will return to Martinsville Speedway. However, this time they'll be there for a one-day show on Thursday, October 23rd during NASCAR playoff weekend. And on that Thursday, they'll also be sharing the track with the Whelen Modified Tour before the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series get on the track for their penultimate races of the 2025 season. The format for this race will be similar to last year's event, with 2 practice sessions, a single car qualifying, and a 100-lap race divided into 50-lap stages. In last year's race, 18 cars started the event, which saw MX-5 Cup regular Jarrett Thomas conquer the paperclip and win the $25,000 grand prize and take home a grandfather clock. Jonathan Applegate, Mazda Motorsports' senior manager, said they were delighted by the fan reaction and feedback from last year, so they immediately knew this race needed to be on the schedule again. Photo courtesy of Mazda MX-5 Cup. And as the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship prepares for its doubleheader season finale race weekend in London, Jaguar TCS Racing is preparing to say goodbye to team principal James Barkley and driver Nick Cassidy. And starting with Barkley, we've already reported on the news of his next move to the FIA World Endurance Championship to become the team principal of McLaren's new hypercar program. Barkley played a key role in Jaguar's return to motorsports, and since leading its Formula E program, he's responsible for 20 wins, 51 podiums, 12 poles, and the 2024 Teams Championship. On the other hand, has been rumored for several months now, but it was finally made official that Cassidy won't return next year, as Racer.com expects him to land at DS Penske or Maserati. In his 2 years with Jaguar, Cassidy won 2 races, scored actually I might have to check on that one, scored 7 podiums, 6 fastest laps, and 2 pole positions. And right here, Nick Cassidy posted a message saying the decision to leave Jaguar TCS Racing has not been an easy one, but ultimately it's the right one for me personally. I'd like to thank everyone at the team for their support since I joined at the beginning of season 10. We have fought hard and had some great success together. I particularly want to thank the engineers and mechanics on the number 37 side of the garage. We made some amazing memories. Looking ahead to London this weekend, and we'll work as hard as ever as a team to ensure we're competitive and fighting for another top 3 finish in the Drivers' World Championship. And once we figure out what Nick Cassidy's future is, we'll discuss it right here on Grid Tonight. NASCAR Xfinity Series regular Christian Eckes will return to the Craftsman Truck Series with McAnally Hildeman Racing. Eckes will drive a 5th MHR entry, the number 16 Chevrolet Silverado at Richmond Raceway and New Hampshire Motor Speedway. At Richmond, he'll be sponsored by AAA Premium Battery and Napa Night Vision in New Hampshire. Eckes said that these are 2 great opportunities to compete for wins and stay sharp behind the wheel, with these races occurring on off weekends for the Xfinity Series. Team owner Bill McAnally said he's looking forward to running the number 16 again as a tribute to the late Shiggy Hattori, as they'll have his name on the truck and recognize his accomplishments by having his number back at the track. graphic courtesy of McAnally Hilgeman Racing. And now we're going to end our new segment with some sad news. Last Friday, it was announced that NASCAR Hall of Famer Rex White passed away at age 95. The 1960 Cup Series champion won 28 races at the premier level in a career that only lasted for 9 years. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame back in 2015 alongside Bill Elliott, Fred Lorenzen, Wendell Scott, and Joe Weatherly. And right here in a statement from NASCAR Chairman and CEO Jim France, he said, "We mourn the loss of NASCAR champion and Hall of Famer Rex White. Rex epitomized in the formative days of NASCAR, a true pioneer whose contributions helped shape the foundation of our sport. His hard work, dedication, and talent allowed him to make a living doing what he loved most, racing cars. He was a model of consistency, finishing in the top 5 in nearly half of his races, dominated the short tracks. On behalf of NASCAR and the France family, I want to offer our condolences to the friends and family of Rex White." And also NASCAR Hall of Fame put out this statement as well, which I'm actually going to make bigger on my screen since it's kind of small to see. The Hall of Fame says that the following statement is from the NASCAR Hall of Fame Executive Director Winston Kelly. He said, "First and foremost, on behalf of the NASCAR Hall of Fame team, I want to offer our most sincere condolences to Rex's family and friends on his passing. Growing up on a North Carolina farm, Rex familiarized himself with all things mechanical and enjoyed driving anything with wheels. He began his driving career in 1954 before moving to NASCAR's Premier Series in 1956. Rex captured NASCAR's top prizes both for a driver and car owner, winning a 1960 NASCAR Cup Series championship on the strength of 6 wins, 35 top 10 finishes, and 40 starts. A short track specialist, Rex made a name for himself in an era where those tracks dominated the schedule, and of his 28 wins in NASCAR's Premier Series, 26 of those were on tracks of a mile or less. He accomplished that in only 233 total starts and over just a period of 9 years. A member of the class of 2015, Rex was among NASCAR's pioneers who remained very visible at tracks and industry events. For years, he was a dedicated ambassador who enjoyed supporting any event or activity he was requested to participate in. NASCAR has lost one of its true pioneers in the NASCAR Hall of Fame team, and I have lost one of our staunchest supporters and cherished friends. Rex's legacy and incredible accomplishments and contributions to NASCAR will forever remain in our hearts, minds, archives, and at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And on behalf of everyone here at the Grid Network, we extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Rex White during this difficult time, and may his memory be a blessing. Graphic courtesy of NASCAR. Now I'm going to turn it over to Matt for a pick a winner because we have a couple of races to do right quick.
Yes, we do. And we've had a fair few of those end of those news segments over the last few weeks. It's becoming more and more regular, which is a real shame. So our condolences with the family of Rex White for his passing this week. Pick a winner, hashtag pick a winner, in fact, for the Grid Network TV prediction game. There is the standings, which is back to a tie at the top between Kobe and Matt B. I'm trying to keep in touch here in third place. Need a few playoff points perhaps to jump. No, I won't go into that one. And Tanner in fourth. Josh T is in fifth position. Happy birthday to Mr. Turner today, or yesterday, as it's now 7 minutes past midnight here. And Josh B is in ninth. We've got two pick a winner races to do right now on the show. Formula One is back, as we talked about briefly earlier. They're at Spa-Francorchamps this weekend for the Belgian Grand Prix, and it is a sprint weekend. So we're going to do the sprint picking now. Could be weather in the air, as it's Spa, always is. I am going to go with the safe pick and say Oscar Piastri will win the sprint race on Saturday, which is at the bonkers time of 11 o'clock UK. Very, very strange to have a sprint race at that time in our part of the world. That's my pick for the sprint. Kobe, who are you going with?
Yeah, I was thinking along the same line. I think Oscar Piastri is probably going to be the easy pick right now, but we'll see how they go in sprint qualifying. Maybe I'll change depending on where they qualify. Who you got, Josh?
I'll go the other McLaren. I'm going with Lando Norris. It's going to be mixed conditions, and if he didn't crash in 2021, it would have been a pole lap. And when we did have wet weather a couple of years ago, it was McLaren who went strong. Yes, it was Piastri, but Lando has got his mojo back. So I'm going to go with him to win the sprint.
Yeah, don't forget sprint qualifying is Friday for the sprint race, which is very early for you guys, US side. And as I said, fairly early for us here in Europe. Joe's going with Piastri as well. So all McLaren picks for us. And you can get your pick in all the way up to lights out for that race. So make sure you get that in before the race starts. Second one to pick for us also on Saturday is the first race of the doubleheader in Excel Centre London for the Formula E Championship finale. I'm going to go with the guy that Kobe mentioned in his news. I think he's probably due some good luck, and probably some good luck at the Excel Centre, because it's never gone well for him there particularly. I'm going to say Nick Cassidy sees out his Jaguar tenure with a win on Saturday. Kobe, who you got?
I'm going to go with the guy who's already clinched the championship. I think Oliver Rowland will win at home in London. Who you got, Josh?
I'm going for McLaren, and I'm going for Taylor Barnard to win race 1 as well. I think it's going to be a circuit that'll suit him well. He's a good qualifier. It's hard to overtake, and he's good at the dive bombs. It's a circuit that's very critical for it. So I think Taylor could do well.
So those races, so we've got F1, the Grand Prix and the Sprint. We have NASCAR at Indianapolis, Laguna Seca IndyCar, and the 2 Formula E races. That is your pick a winner list for the week. Denver is going with Oscar for the Sprint and the main Grand Prix for the weekend. And Joe is going for Edo Mortara on Saturday. That's a left field pick, but I like it because the races we get at XL could perhaps land in someone's lap. They've done that before in the past. Get your selections in using the hashtag pick a winner across all of the Grid Network TV socials, here on the YouTube chat, also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere else that we might be. Blue Sky as well. Use that hashtag pick a winner and your name could be on the board next week with, as I said, a selection of races to choose from over the coming weekend as we get into the end of July already, can you believe? Time for Hots and Knots. We'll try and keep this brief to wrap up the show. Josh, where would you like to start?
Well, there wasn't that much. So let's start with MotoGP. Definite hot was going to be Jorge Martin finishing. That was great for him. Great from the KTMs of Costa. That was pace again. They needed that after a bad couple of races. And Bezzecchi, I think, showed some strong pace. And it was a good weekend for MotoGP, actually, back at Brno. It was nice to see the venue, packed out and sell out and fast and grippy. And it was lovely to have it back, to be fair.
Yeah, been 5 years since we were in the Czech Republic, and they did come. If you build it, they will come, and they certainly came at the weekend. The president of the Czech Republic is absolutely mad on his motorbikes and waved the checkered flag on Sunday for the Grand Prix, which is great to see. Track looked brilliant. The race was okay. Wasn't marvellous by any stretch of the imagination. We've had better this season by a long way, but it was all right. Other hot, Joe Roberts in Moto2 finally getting a win after every season, it seems like, for a little while. He's been in the chat pre-season about being in the championship battle, and then it's never come to pass. Good to see him win, and a good win as well on Sunday. I'm not really sure I've got anything else other than that, because the only thing I've watched from the weekend was MotoGP and the Cup race.
I think IndyCar Toronto. That's got to be hard, because in a race where we expected monotony, there was dive bomb moves left, right, and centre, and it felt like a proper street race again. It was street racing, so I really enjoyed Toronto. It was actually a refresh, even though who won?
Who did win?
I can't remember who.
Award. Pato.
Oh yeah, Pato won. Yes, second in 4 races. Yeah, Pato won this race, two of the last 2 races. Thank you, Joe. That was well timed. I generally forgot for a second. I thought, was it below? No. But award winning 2 of the last 3. But it was dominant from the award, and it was a good, strong race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's another hot for me.
Perhaps shame it's come so late in the season, really. Hot, the NASCAR San Diego news from Denver, which we all agreed at the top of the show is going to be a show. Denny Hamlin giving NASCAR the middle finger to NASCAR by winning at Dover. And what's non-motorsport not is the passing of Ozzy on yesterday, wasn't it? Which is a real shame. I
wonder if Martin Brundle's relieved, because every time I go to interview on the grid, he won't swear anymore.
Well, yes, that one of them was posted by Autosport, I believe it was earlier, and more than Knots, where they on Facebook have been posting random Spa pictures from down the years and such like this week, getting us ready for the Grand Prix. And as I was scrolling at lunchtime while having my sandwich, there was one of a spiker, and I went, And the caption read something, paraphrase, Marcus Winkelhock only had one Grand Prix start, but he led such and such laps at Spa in 2007. No, he didn't. It was at Nürburgring. Please, researchers, do your researching before you post things on social media. Whoever that is in the Autosport office, hang your head in shame.
You told me the most famous race.
One of the most famous one of the most famous races of modern times, and one of the most famous person leading a race was credited to a race at Spa.
Murray Walker's last F1 commentary.
Yeah. On 5 Live. Not back to MotoGP. The whole tyre pressure debacle on Saturday.
Yeah.
What an absolute farce that was. If anyone saw it, you would know. Marc Marquez was 3 seconds up the road in the lead during the sprint race, but he had to slow down and go back to second because his tyre was too cold.
And then Pecco did the same.
Confess that they messed up.
Yeah, Pecco didn't need to do it, you know. Megan's getting scarily good because she saw Pecco felt that the rear tyre was sliding out and he was losing grip on it. And then the pressure light came on, so he thought, oh God, I've got rear tyre issues. You know, it's that. I've got to slow down. The alarm was wrong. There was nothing wrong with the rear tyre. It was just sliding on the grip. So he thought it was a problem. It wasn't. So yeah, that whole, just get rid of that rule. Get rid of Michelin. What is it with Michelin? They can't make a tyre. No matter what racing series it is, there's always a problem. I don't know what it is. F1, WEC, Formula E, MotoGP. They can't make tyres without problems. It's bonkers.
Yeah. I can go along with that argument. One quick note, and Denver mentioned it there about Denny winning at the weekend, which fair enough. We talked about it because it broke during the show last week about the next step in the court case, whatnot. I thought Denny's line in the presser on, I guess it must have been Friday, oh, well, the truth will come out. Don't you wait till the court case, 4th of December or whatever the date it was. You just wait. To me, that sounded like someone in an argument going, yeah, and at the end. Something about your mum or whatever, you know, in a proper childish way.
Really. Yeah.
It just sounded so playground. Come on, grow up.
I think, they've got to. Oh, was. Kobe's just
the whole time. Go on.
Yes. Kobe's just sent something in to our Grid Network chat, which I've opened up. This is a tweet and an article from WSJ, so the Wall Street Journal, coming in saying, exclusive, NBC Universal is discussing launching a sports cable network that could debut as early as the fall. People familiar with the matter said the channel would primarily carry sports that are also streamed on NBCU's Peacock platform. Doesn't that sound
the NBC Sports Network?
Yeah. But,
I think they killed off a couple of years ago.
So basically, USA hasn't worked. You know, with throwing everything onto USA, and let's quickly get back to that. So yeah, what a surprise! They needed a sports channel, and I was godfounded that they got rid of it. So American fans,
To a comment that I didn't make earlier when Ben was with us, going back never works, and you shouldn't go back. Well, it looks like NBC are going back, and as he says, how original of an idea.
I must admit, I've still got it open. Yes, I have. Seth Cole has put back on Twitter, man gets back together with X.
After some time away, trying to find himself.
He tried the younger crowd with all the streaming services, but it didn't work out.
That had America in its name. As a USA network.
Oh, dear. I think that about wraps it up. There wasn't that much going on. We'll have more next weekend though, because it's going to all blow up this weekend. Yeah. Right, taking a look at our upcoming schedule as well. Stay tuned for Grid Live pre-race. There's some standalone shows to preview IndyCar at Laguna Seca and Formula One's Belgian Grand Prix and NASCAR's crown jewel, the Brickyard 400. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Indianapolis. And Monday, Grid Encore is at 7 p.m. Eastern, recapping the ARCA and truck races But the truck race is going to be at the IRP, so it's not going to be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's going to be at the park. So remember that is a different venue. Xfinity will be at the Brickyard, and Indy NXT is going to be at Laguna Seca. Plus, we've also got F2 and F3 from Spa-Francorchamps as well. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for helping us reach 1,600 subscribers. We're now inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. And you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. Forgot my not Penske, IndyCar, Toronto, nothing going on. Good point there, Joe. That, what they cannot catch a break. And how unlucky was Joseph Newgarden going underneath and having, was it Stingray Rob on the back there? That is not actually. How can the same thing happen twice? It's just like back. Oh, it was Jacob Abel who went on top. Yeah, he's back in the 51 now, not Stingray Rob. But yeah, how can the same thing happen twice at the same part of the track? Come on. It was so comical. Where am I? So you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network TV Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Shell, Robin, David, and Matthew. You invest each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join these fine folks, help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link to that is in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want. Because they buy a specific on-air personality cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. Big show tonight. Thanks for sticking with us across an hour and 42 minutes for Kobe Lambert, Matt White from Grid Endurance Index, Jackson Ambrose, Japo Link as well, and Outlet Media, and Ben Schneider from Grid Encore and NASCAR.info. I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.